You want to know what separates those who endure from those who collapse. It isn't genetics. It isn't luck. It isn't divine favor. It's understanding. Some walk through fire and come out forged, while others burn to ash under the same heat. Why? Because the strong don't run from their reflection. They face it. Every scar, every crack, every dark whisper they've buried beneath the noise. The weak pretend the darkness isn't there. The strong become one with it. You see, most people live as strangers to themselves. They hide behind masks, smiles, routines, distractions, all to avoid seeing the truth inside. But that truth never leaves. It waits, patiently, until the moment you least expect it. Then it hits you like a wave, and you drown in emotions you swore you'd outgrown. But the warrior, the awakened mind, knows this truth. You cannot master what you refuse to face. And if you run from the darkness within, you'll meet it again in the faces of others, in the patterns of life, in the same pain replaying in new forms, until you look at it and say, no more. That's where transformation begins. That's where power is born. The shadow within. The shadow is not your enemy. It's your unacknowledged power. It's the part of you that wanted to fight back but wasn't allowed to. The part that screamed for recognition while you kept quiet. The part that demanded truth while you played nice. You've been told to hide it, to suppress anger, envy, greed, lust, ambition, as if light could exist without darkness. But repression doesn't erase energy. It buries it alive. And what is buried begins to rot. That rot seeps into your words, your actions, your relationships. It whispers when you're jealous, when you're afraid, when you lash out over nothing. It's not evil. It's misunderstood. The shadow acts out only because it wants to be seen. So when anger rises, when envy bites, don't flinch. Don't drown it in fake positivity. Ask instead, what part of me have I silenced for too long? You'll begin to see the truth, that these dark fragments are not chains, but fuel. Within your shadow lies instinct, creativity, courage, and raw will. The primal flame that civilization trained you to hide. When you integrate it, you become whole. Not pure, not perfect, whole. Because light without shadow is illusion, and peace without pain is shallow. Strong minds do not fear their dark side. They use it. They bend it into purpose, into art, into dominance over themselves. And when the shadow is seen, truly seen, it loses its claws. It becomes an ally. The most dangerous ally you'll ever have. The death of the victim. There is no strength in being the victim. The world will hand you pain, betrayal, and injustice. But the way you carry it determines who you become. Every time you say, I can't, you reinforce the walls of your own prison. Every time you say, they hurt me, you forget the truth. You allowed them to define you. But when you say, I choose, everything changes. It's subtle, almost invisible. I can't means powerless. I choose means control. Even when life slams you into the dirt, I choose lets you rise on your own terms. You see, most people cling to pain because it gives them identity. It gives them a story. I was wronged. I was betrayed. I was left behind. But at some point, that story becomes a cage. You feed it. You polish it. You worship it. And it devours you. To destroy that identity, you must confront it without self-pity. When you say, yes, this happened, but it does not own me, you reclaim your throne. You stop waiting for an apology. You stop seeking validation. You stop blaming the past. Instead, you rise as creator. The creator says, every wound is clay. I will shape it into something greater. This is the alchemy of strength, turning your wounds into wisdom, turning your scars into armor. Remember this truth. You are not healed when you forget the pain. You are healed when it no longer defines your behavior. The victim says, "Why me?" The creator says, "Watch me." That shift is everything. When you stop needing to be saved, you realize you were your own savior all along. The ancient ocean within. Inside you is something ancient, something older than your name, your memories, your fears. It is the echo of every human who's ever walked this earth. The collective consciousness of countless generations who fought, loved, bled, and built. That inheritance still breathes through you. The warrior archetype that stands tall in crisis. The healer that forgives when it's hardest. The seeker who hungers for truth. You were never just one person. You are the sum of thousands of souls. And when you awaken to that realization, you stop feeling small. Because every archetype within you has power, both light and dark. The warrior can defend or destroy. The lover can nurture or consume. The creator can build worlds or burn them. Your task is not to silence them, but to direct them, to become the conductor of the inner orchestra. You are the architect of your psyche. You decide when the warrior must lead and when the sage must speak. You decide when the shadow must rise to protect and when the heart must soften to heal. When you learn to summon each part with intention, you are no longer a puppet of emotion. You become a master of it. Think of the myths, the stories that survive time. Heroes descending into darkness, battling monsters, returning with treasure. Those weren't stories about gods. They were roadmaps of the mind. Every monster was fear. Every treasure was understanding. When you stop running from the monsters, you realize they were guarding the door to your higher self. That is the real meaning of evolution. Not escaping the dark, but integrating it so deeply that even chaos bows to your composure. The journey of wholeness. Becoming whole is not about chasing perfection. It's about stripping away everything false. We wear so many masks that we forget what our real face looks like. We play roles for approval, for safety, for survival. We pretend to be happy when we're not, strong when we're broken, certain when we're lost. But the soul doesn't care for masks. It only waits for your honesty. Individuation, becoming who you truly are, isn't glamorous. It's a dismantling. It's watching everything you thought you were crumble into dust, so that something real can emerge. You will lose friends. You will lose identities. You will lose comfort. But you will gain something the world cannot give you: authenticity. The person who is whole no longer seeks external validation. They don't beg to be understood. They simply exist as themselves, fearlessly. When you stop chasing who you should be and start becoming who you already are, the war within ends. You'll notice that life still hurts, but differently. Pain no longer feels like punishment. It feels like growth. Because now, you see clearly. You see that every breakdown was a calling. Every rejection was redirection. Every storm was shaping you into alignment with your true essence. Wholeness doesn't mean peace without conflict. It means peace within conflict. It means walking through hell and realizing hell is within your domain. At that level, nothing external can shake you. The insults, the losses, the chaos, they may touch your surface, but your core remains untouched. You're no longer playing the game. You are the ground the game is played on. Training the mind. No tree grows to heaven unless its roots touch hell. Do you understand what that means? It means to rise, you must descend. If you want peace, you must face discomfort. If you want power, you must confront weakness. If you want truth, you must let your illusions die. Training the mind isn't a motivational slogan. It's war. A silent war fought daily against your impulses, your distractions, your fears. Observe yourself without judgment. Watch your anger without naming it evil. Watch your fear without calling it cowardice. This is awareness, pure observation. The shadow dissolves when seen through the eyes of truth. Then practice silence. Not external quiet, but the stillness where the ego loses control. In silence, you learn the difference between thought and awareness. You realize you are not your emotions. You are the witness, and the witness cannot be broken. When you can sit alone in silence and not flinch, the world loses its grip on you. Next, embrace adversity. A weak mind sees pain as punishment. A strong mind sees it as refinement. Ask yourself in every hardship, what is this teaching me about myself? Growth does not come from comfort. It comes from tension. The tension between who you are and who you could become. And when you fail, when you regress, when the old habits return, be compassionate with yourself. Not in a soft way, but in an understanding way. Tell yourself, I am not broken. I am being refined. Compassion is not weakness. It's the endurance of warriors who've seen hell and still choose to rise. Build rituals that anchor you to your truth. Morning reflections. Writing. Silence before chaos. A promise to your soul that you will not betray yourself again. Then, master ambiguity. Accept that not everything must be known. That not every wound must be explained. The mind that demands certainty is the mind that fears growth. You do not need to understand everything to move forward. You only need to trust the voice within, the one that whispers, not screams. When you follow that voice, you walk the path of awakening. The world worships illusion. Everyone wants to appear strong. Few dare to be strong. To be strong is to descend into your own depths and rise with truth in your hands. To be strong is to lose everything false and still stand proud. To be strong is to understand that you are not the storm. You are the sky it moves through. The world cannot break what has already accepted its own darkness. So stop trying to prove. Stop trying to hide. Stop waiting for permission. You do not need to convince anyone that you are powerful. When you awaken to who you are, your silence becomes a weapon. Every word you speak carries weight. Every step you take becomes deliberate. Every breath you take resonates with awareness. And suddenly, you realize no one can hurt you. They can only reveal the parts you've yet to heal. You don't need revenge. You don't need validation. You need mastery. So, walk forward, into the dark corridors of your mind. Face the shadow. Slay the victim. Awaken the warrior. Integrate the light. Train the mind. This is not the path of the many. This is the path of the few, the chosen, those who are done living as fragments, those who are ready to become whole. The path will test you. It will tear you down. It will demand everything. But when you reach the other side, you will stand as something this world rarely sees. A human being who truly knows themselves. And that, my friend, is invincibility. Not the absence of pain, not the absence of fear, but the presence of awareness so deep that even the gods of chaos must bow before your calm. We rise, not to escape the dark, but to rule within it. We are the silent storm. We are the invincible mind. Step 1. Confront the shadow. To master the mind, we must first walk into the dark corners we've spent years avoiding. Every hidden emotion, Anger, envy, shame, fear is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a messenger we've ignored. The shadow is simply the part of us that was rejected, silenced, or shamed. It carries our untapped energy, our raw potential, and our most honest truth. But as long as we deny it, it controls us from the depths, shaping our choices while we pretend we're in command. Most people wear masks, smiling through resentment, pretending confidence while shaking inside, acting selfless while secretly craving validation. This false light fractures the soul. Strength isn't found in pretending to be pure. It's found in becoming whole. Wholeness means accepting the chaos, the flaws, the rage, the hunger, and seeing them for what they are. Power waiting to be refined. When you feel triggered or jealous or afraid, don't run. Ask yourself, what part of me feels unseen right now? Every time you do, the unconscious becomes conscious. That's how you reclaim control. You can't master what you refuse to look at. The true warrior does not hide from his darkness. He learns its language. The shadow loses its grip the moment you face it without judgment. Observe your emotions instead of condemning them. Write down what disturbs you and trace it to its source. Was it rejection? Fear of inadequacy? The need to be loved? Behind every outburst lies a truth that demands acknowledgement. Once seen, it no longer owns you. The irony is that inside the shadow lies everything you've been searching for. Confidence, passion, courage, and creative fire. The very energy you thought was destructive becomes sacred fuel when redirected with awareness. The people who appear unshakable aren't fearless. They've just made peace with their fears. So the first step toward the invincible mind is not to seek light, but to walk willingly into the dark with your eyes open. Sit with your flaws. Listen to your pain. Speak to the parts of you that have been waiting to be heard. Integration is not about fixing yourself. It's about no longer being at war with yourself. When you accept every part of who you are, light and shadow alike, the world can no longer use your darkness against you. That's when you become calm, composed, and untouchable. Because once you've faced your own abyss, nothing outside of you can scare you again. Step 2. Kill the victim. Awaken the Creator. There is a moment in every person's life when they realize the greatest enemy they've ever faced wasn't another person. It was the version of themselves that waited for rescue. The victim mindset is seductive because it offers comfort disguised as helplessness. It tells us life is unfair, that we are owed something for our suffering. But the truth is harsher. No one is coming to save us. And that truth, when accepted, is the birth of freedom. The victim blames circumstances, the upbringing, the economy, the people who didn't believe in them. The Creator looks at the same pain and says, "This is my material." Pain is clay. The Creator molds it. The victim weeps over the ashes. The Creator builds something from them. That's the difference between the broken and the reborn. Every time you say, "I can't," you reinforce the bars of your own mental prison. But when you replace it with "I choose," you take the first swing at those bars. "I can't" is weakness disguised as truth. "I choose" is strength disguised as humility. The world still tests you, but you begin to respond rather than react. Killing the victim means letting go of the comfort of pity. It means giving up the right to complain, the right to feel special for your pain. That's why most people never do it. Because they love their wounds too much. Their suffering gives them identity, and without it, they wouldn't know who they are. But to awaken as Creator, you must bury that false identity and step into responsibility so complete that even your failures become fuel. The moment you stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What is this teaching me?" your entire reality shifts. You stop looking for villains and start finding lessons. You stop seeking sympathy and start seeking progress. Power returns to your hands the instant blame leaves your mouth. Becoming the creator doesn't mean denying pain. It means mastering it. It means transforming every wound into wisdom, every rejection into redirection. The creator doesn't suppress emotion, they channel it. Rage becomes momentum. Sadness becomes depth. Regret becomes discipline. If you can see your suffering as sacred, you will never waste another tear. Every hardship becomes a forge, every scar a map of lessons learned. You begin to rise not because life gets easier, but because your mind gets stronger. So kill the victim quietly. Mourn it if you must. Then look into the mirror and see what remains. Someone who no longer waits, begs, or blames. Someone who acts. That is the creator, the one who writes their destiny with the same hands that once wiped away their tears. The world bends to that kind of soul, not out of fear, but out of respect. Step 3. Awaken the Archetypes Within. Inside each of us lives an ancient army. Voices, instincts, symbols, and drives passed down through generations. The warrior, the healer, the creator, the lover, the sage. All of them wait in silence for the moment we decide to remember who we are. Most never do. They live their entire lives as one archetype, perhaps the pleaser, the victim, or the rebel, unaware that within them exists an entire kingdom of forces waiting to be mastered. The key to awakening the archetypes is recognition. Every strong emotion, every impulse, every dream is a signal from one of these inner forces. When you feel the need to defend your values, the warrior rises. When you feel drawn to mend and understand, the healer whispers. When you long to express, build, and innovate, the creator breathes. But when you live unconsciously, these archetypes control you instead of serving you. The warrior becomes violent. The lover becomes obsessive. The sage becomes detached. Balance is lost, and chaos takes the throne. To awaken them properly, you must first observe them in action. Watch your behavior. When anger surges, ask, is this my warrior protecting boundaries, or my shadow craving dominance? When you comfort others to your own detriment, ask, is this the healer or the martyr? Awareness transforms instinct into intelligence. Once you can name these inner forces, begin to consciously summon them. Before facing conflict, breathe and call upon the calm, strategic warrior, not the reckless one. When fear paralyzes you, invite the seeker archetype, the part of you that finds excitement in uncertainty. Each archetype has wisdom, but it must be guided by your higher self, not ego. You are the commander. They are your soldiers. The purpose of this step is not to silence or favor one role over another, but to harmonize them. The warrior needs the sage's restraint. The lover needs the creator's independence. The healer needs the warrior's boundaries. When these inner forces begin to cooperate, your mind stops feeling scattered. You become decisive, intuitive, and grounded all at once. To apply this practically, spend time in reflection after emotional moments. Ask, which archetype just acted through me? Journal the answer. Over time, you'll start to see patterns, which forces you've overused and which you've neglected. The ones you've ignored are often the very ones you need most. The awakening of archetypes is the awakening of memory. the ancient human memory of power, wisdom, and adaptability. You realize you are never just one thing. You are the entire spectrum of humanity embodied in a single soul. When you master these forces, you no longer react to life. You orchestrate it. That is the secret of the Invincible Mind. To know that within you lives a council of gods and demons, and the one who commands them all is you. Step 4. Walk the path of wholeness. Wholeness is not perfection. It is the sacred reunion of every fragmented part of who you are. The path toward wholeness begins the moment you stop trying to become someone else and decide to return to yourself. For years, you've worn masks. The achiever, the caretaker, the entertainer, the stoic. You've lived for approval, bending to expectations that buried your true essence. The world taught you that love is conditional, that worth must be earned, that your flaws must be hidden. But the soul cannot breathe beneath masks. It whispers, "This isn't me." Each time you ignore that whisper, another fracture appears within you. Wholeness demands courage. The courage to dismantle illusions, to let go of the identities that kept you safe, but now keep you small. It is not the addition of more. It is the stripping away of everything false. The opinions of others, the need to impress, the endless chase for validation. When these layers fall, what remains is raw authenticity, the foundation of inner peace. You'll know you're on the path when comfort starts to feel like poison, when your old habits no longer fit, when you'd rather be alone in truth than surrounded by false harmony. That's the soul's rebellion against conformity. Don't resist it, follow it. The breaking down is not failure. It's the preparation for rebirth. To live whole means to integrate every contradiction, your strength and your softness, your logic and your intuition, your light and your darkness. The mind wants one to win, but the spirit thrives when opposites coexist. Harmony, not dominance, is the secret. The balanced individual no longer swings between extremes. They walk the middle path, calm, deliberate, unshaken. Practically start auditing your life. Which relationships force you to perform instead of express? Which goals are driven by fear instead of inspiration? Which habits keep you busy but not fulfilled? Release them one by one. Freedom begins with subtraction. Wholeness also requires solitude. Spend time in silence, not to escape the world, but to remember yourself. In stillness, you'll meet the version of you that doesn't need validation. The quiet observer who sees clearly, who knows. And when you finally meet that self, something shifts. You stop comparing. You stop proving. You stop needing to win. You simply exist in alignment. From that place, every action carries power. Every word carries weight. Every presence commands respect without effort. Walking the path of wholeness means no longer dividing your life into light and dark, success and failure, worthy and unworthy. You embrace it all, because the whole being, the one who accepts every facet, is untouchable. When you become whole, you no longer chase peace. You are peace. You no longer seek validation. You are truth. You no longer perform strength. You embody it. And in that embodiment lies the kind of power the world cannot break. The calm, silent power of someone who has come home to themselves. Step 5. Train the mind daily. No empire of discipline is built overnight. Power fades when it isn't practiced. The mind, like a blade, dulls when it is not honed against resistance. Training the mind is not a one-time revelation. It is a ritual, a daily commitment to awareness, control, and inner stillness. Understand this. The untrained mind is not your ally. It's a wild animal. Impulsive, distracted, emotional, craving stimulation and escape. It reacts to every insult, clings to every fear, and obsesses over every desire. If left unchecked, it becomes your master. But when you train it, it becomes your weapon. Training begins with observation. Watch your thoughts without trying to stop them. Notice the patterns. Notice how quickly you judge yourself, how fast you jump to conclusions, how easily you spiral. This awareness is the first cut of the sword, the strike that separates who you are from what you think. The more you observe, the more distance forms between you and the chaos. You start to realize, I am not my thoughts. I am the one watching them pass. Next, practice silence. Not just quiet from the outside world, but inner silence. A state where you stop reacting. Sit with your thoughts until they lose their grip. At first, your mind will scream. It will beg for distraction. But if you stay, if you breathe through the noise, the storm eventually settles. That stillness, that small window of calm, is your sanctuary. The more you enter it, the stronger it grows. Then comes resilience through adversity. The mind is strengthened the same way muscle is, through tension. Every challenge, every insult, every failure is resistance training for the soul. Don't run from it. When pain strikes, ask, what strength is this building in me? When anxiety rises, ask, what lesson is this demanding I learn? The untrained flee discomfort. The disciplined walk toward it, knowing growth hides behind the sting. Build rituals that anchor you. Morning reflection, journaling, meditation, or a silent walk. Small acts done consistently create stability amid chaos. They become the spine of your inner structure. On days you feel lost, these rituals bring you back. Finally, cultivate compassion and patience. Discipline without compassion turns into cruelty. You will fall, fail, and regress. That's part of mastery. Each time you stumble, don't indulge in shame. Simply say, I am learning. I am refining. That self-understanding keeps your spirit intact when the ego wants to quit. A trained mind doesn't mean emotionless. It means unshakable. It feels everything yet obeys nothing but truth. When you master observation, silence, endurance, ritual, and compassion, the world can no longer dictate your internal state. Train the mind every day, not to escape emotion, but to rule it. Because the moment you can stand in chaos and remain calm, you've already won the war. And now, the circle closes. The lessons, the trials, the shadows, they all lead here. To this moment, where you finally understand that strength was never about domination, perfection, or cold detachment. It was about integration. You have seen your darkness and made peace with it. You've slain the victim and taken command of your choices. You've awakened the archetypes sleeping within you. The warrior, the healer, the creator, the sage, and taught them to serve your higher purpose. You've walked through the fire of transformation, stripped away every false identity, and discovered what it means to be whole. And through discipline, silence, and conscious repetition, you've begun to train the mind into something that cannot be manipulated. A fortress of awareness surrounded by calm. That is the invincible mind. It isn't loud. It isn't arrogant. It doesn't seek applause. It walks through chaos with still eyes, through storms with steady hands. It knows that life will continue to test it, but it no longer fears those tests. Because every challenge is just another form of training. True mastery isn't found in escaping pain, but in transforming it. The weak chase pleasure, the strong pursue growth. The world bends to those who no longer run from themselves. And that is now you. You are no longer the victim of circumstance. You are no longer haunted by your shadow. You no longer search for purpose in others' approval. You are becoming the architect, the one who builds from within, who draws power from solitude, who creates order from chaos and peace from fire. Remember this: the work never ends. Awakening is not a single event. It is a rhythm, a vow renewed each morning. Every day you will face the mirror again, and each time you look into it, you'll see a little less fear and a little more truth. Staring back, that is progress. That is power. Carry these teachings as weapons and shields. Let your silence command rooms. Let your self-control unsettle the undisciplined. Let your presence speak louder than any speech could. For when the storms rise again, and they will, you will not tremble. You will not beg for peace. You will be peace. You will be power. You will be the embodiment of everything this path was designed to awaken. This is the new standard. This is the new self. This is the Invincible Mind.